Is we live? Is we live? Is we live? Yes, you're now tuned into the Rare Podcast. Of course, I'm your host for the most, NK, aka the man of the hour. Too sweet to be sour. And there's no special guest today. It is just me, myself, and I, moi. And there's no better way to start a solo episode, the first solo episode of the year, than by talking about Mr. Morale, the boogeyman. K. Dot, Mr. Kendrick Lamar. Yes, the Super Bowl show had happened. Kendrick Lamar performed on the Super Bowl stage. This had been a show that was hyped up for months, coming off of the beef, coming off winning 5 Grammys, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5. How many stocks do I really have in stock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5. He won 5 Grammys for Not Like Us, the first diss track to ever win a Grammy. And then he followed that Grammy win into the Super Bowl. And the performance happened. I'm going to give my thoughts. There's been a lot of discourse about the Super Bowl. And I want to share my thoughts. But before we get into dissecting the Super Bowl and the themes, I think let's talk about what the Super Bowl performance is, because I think that informed of a lot of people's expectations of what we were going to get. The Super Bowl is the biggest spectacle in American sports. We've had that likes of Prince, Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Usher most recently, Rihanna headlined that stage. And the Super Bowl, for a lot of people, is a celebration of that artist. The artist goes out, performs some of their biggest hits. They entertain the crowd. You may get a few guest appearances here and there, but the Super Bowl is very much a spectacle. It's something that an artist cherishes. We know that after the Super Bowl, the artist gets an insane amount of exposure. I mean, this is probably the most televised performance, certainly in America, and globally. This is something that us in the UK, we tune in to watch. I stayed up live for the show. I watched parts of the Super Bowl game to get to this performance. But let's get onto the performance, man. Let's get onto the performance. There's a lot to unpack here. Man. So we're going to take it layer by layer, peel the layers back. And yes, I'm going to be one of those guys who takes every, snapshot, everything I can decipher and present to you my findings. So let's begin, man. I think the show begins with Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. First and foremost, this kind of ticks off the quota of having a notable name appear at the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl performances notably have artist appearances, but sometimes you can have celebrity appearances at the actual stage, and Samuel Jackson was one of them. But more importantly, let's talk about Uncle Sam. Now, Uncle Sam originates as a piece of American propaganda. Uncle Sam is the ultimate patriot. Uncle Sam is somebody who looks out for the interests of America to, make America. I'm not repeating that phrase, but yeah, you get the you get the gist. And Uncle Sam, played by Samuel L. Jackson, is a nice pun, but it's a very important character, a very important motif. Uncle Sam is a very important motif in Kendrick Lamar's work. The first time I can recall hearing Uncle Sam in Kendrick Lamar's work is on To Pimp a Butterfly. Uncle Sam is a consistent character on To Pimp a Butterfly, and he appears in the opening track, Wesley's Theory. What you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar. See, my name is Uncle Sam, I'm your dog. And Uncle Sam is somebody in the beginning that seemingly offers words of encouragement, seemingly offers the pursuit of the American dream. And we'll get to that 40 acres and a mule line later because that's important. But Uncle Sam is a figure that offers, the pursuit of the American dream. He makes the American dream something to aspire to and something that is tangible. And that's exactly what Uncle Sam does in Kendrick Lamar's performance. Uncle Sam appears and says, "Hey, I'm your Uncle Sam." Right? He appears in a very jovial and friendly tone, and he asks, "Are you ready to play the great game?" And the game motif is super important because even before Samuel L. Jackson enters the stage, we see X, triangle, circle, square. Right? Those are all symbols of the famous console of the PlayStation, which is a game. And also, it's a bit of meta commentary because they're performing at the Super Bowl, which is the great American game. So we continue the performance. Kendrick performs an unreleased snippet. This snippet was heard when he released a trailer that preceded the rollout of GNX. Like this snippet was played on like a 20-second trailer. And, it was kind of hard. I'm not going to sit and decipher the lyrics because the lyrics aren't out, but the trailer's energetic and you see a bunch of people hopping out the GNX. By the way, set design wise, that was amazing. Because I don't know how all those bodies hopped out of the GNX. But if you know the album GNX, and if you know the run that Kendrick's been on right now, there's been a constant repetition of culture. Culture has been at the forefront of Kendrick's mind, and GNX is very much a representation of Kendrick's culture. It's a nod, it's a salute, it's a calling card to the West Coast where he's from. He's from Compton, California, and it's very much a calling card to, his heritage in Compton and a celebration of that. So we get Squabble Up. Banger. Absolute banger. Right? I can't remember exactly what we get next after Squabble Up. I think we get Samuel L. Jackson. I think we get Squabble Up and... Forgive me, it's my first time doing it solo. We get Squabble Up and we transition into, let's see, Humble and then DNA. Humble and DNA are Kendrick's bangers, right? Humble is arguably Kendrick's biggest song before Not Like Us. If people were to ask what is a certified Kendrick hit, it would be Humble, for sure, for sure ski. We get Humble, we get DNA. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get the second verse of DNA because just breath control wise and performance wise, that song is mad impressive to perform, and I've seen him perform that song. So we go into Humble and DNA, and after Humble and DNA, we get Euphoria, and it's interesting because when Euphoria plays, if you notice, there is a sign saying "Warning, wrong way." The direction of the show is going in the wrong way. Why? Because Euphoria is obviously, the first diss that Kendrick gave to Drake. But also Euphoria is very much Kendrick embracing who he is and Kendrick very much calling out to the culture. There is a line in Euphoria which is, "I am what the culture's feeling." And that's what Kendrick's banking on. He's banking on his cultural cachet in that song. But the game is instructing him that's not the right move. That's not how you play the game. And then subsequently after that, you get Samuel Jackson comes out and said, "No, too loud, too ghetto." If you don't know by now, Samuel Jackson's Uncle Sam is very much a representative of the American consciousness. The character of Uncle Sam represents American consciousness, and Kendrick coming out representing his culture, LA, is very much not what Uncle Sam wants. It's very much not what the American public want to see. They don't want to see that. We ain't got time to see you represent. We want to see a performance. We want to see a show that suits our needs. Don't give back. That's not what Uncle Sam wants to see. So, we continue on with the performance. I've got notes here, so forgive me if, I continue my notes. But Kendrick, after Euphoria, he doubles down. He performs Man at the Garden. Man at the Garden is very much an affirmation-based song. It's a song affirming Kendrick's identity. It's affirming who Kendrick is. And I thought the imagery of Kendrick performing under streetlights with black men surrounding him, men he would have grew up with in the, hoods of Compton, California, serving as the backdrop to his performance. It's very much representative of humble beginnings, and he deserves it all. He comes from a place and he honors this place. And because he honors the place that he comes from and he honors, the principles that the culture instilled in him, he deserves it all. But what does Samuel Jackson say in response to that? Mr. Lamar, Do you really know how to play the game? Tighten up. He tells him to tighten up. Again, Uncle Sam in To Pimp a Butterfly is almost mirrors Lucifer. In fact, Uncle Sam and Lucifer are used interchangeably. And if you look at, a biblical text, and if you look at, religious text, oftentimes Lucifer, the devil, comes in the form of he comes to people offering them, prosperity, offering them something divine, something that they would need, right? Classic story of Adam and Eve. But behind all of that, Uncle Sam has his own intentions. And what the intentions of Uncle Sam are, as we'll go to see in this performance, is for Kendrick to assimilate. But more so, Kendrick is a member of the culture. It's for the culture to assimilate. The culture can't come into a stage such as the Super Bowl in front of all these people and be itself. No, the culture has to be watered down. It has to fit in with the preconceived notions Uncle Sam America has for the culture. And the culture being African Americans, black people. Right. So Uncle Sam tells Kendrick to tighten up. But again, Kendrick is defiant. What does he play? Peekaboo. Like, he plays peekaboo again. And big up Kendrick again for performing AZ Chike's verse. Again, it's a very, very West Coast, LA, Compton song. Again, it represents exactly who he is, right? And I believe this is the part of the performance where we get the Drake snubs. We get the first Drake subliminal, right? He teases Not Like Us, which is the spectacle that everybody wants to see. It's the reason, quite frankly, that Kendrick Lamar got the Super Bowl, right? And of course, Kendrick Lamar is very much deserving of the Super Bowl stage. We know this for a fact. But it's the song that everyone wants to see. And he references, this is everyone's favorite song. We know some people like to sue. Defamation. But yes. So, Uncle Sam says, so you brought the homies out, in reference to Man at the Garden. Scorekeeper deducts 1 life. Now, this continues the game metaphor, because obviously in the game, when you lose points, you can lose lives. But it's also representative of how America treats African American people as commodities. As, hey, you don't fit into the rules. You're not working within the parameters of the games that we've set. Cool. We're gonna punish you. And sometimes that is the literal taking of lives. But as we continue, then we get the introduction of SZA, and Kendrick Lamar and SZA perform Luther, and they perform All the Stars. I'll be, from a performance perspective, this is probably the weakest part of the show for me. One, I thought Kendrick's mic was off throughout the entire show. Like, it wasn't off, but it was like, yeah, the mic was off. Like, the sound mixing wasn't great. And I just felt this part of the show was lackluster. But however, ironically, this part of the show was arguably the most well-received part of the show to the masses that I've seen, right? To people who aren't necessarily Kendrick fans, to people who aren't necessarily hip-hop fans, SZA was the palate cleanser. SZA was the person that, oh, that is a recognizable face. And don't get it twisted, I love me some SZA. I love Solani to death, right? Control is a classic. Z is one of my favorite projects, out there. SOS, hit and miss for me. But I don't play about my SZA. And All the Stars is a banger. But this part of the show is very important. Kendrick performing with SZA is very important to the overall narrative of the piece. Because it is Kendrick conforming. It is Kendrick playing to the masses, playing to the crowd. All the Stars, again, was a super duper commercial success, right? Again, it was literally the soundtrack to $1 billion movie. It was the end credit song to one of the biggest superhero movies of all time in Black Panther, which is a film about black liberation, but also founded by Disney. And we'll get to, being founded by questionable corporations in a second. But that part of the performance is very much Kendrick conforming to the status quo, conforming to what the Super Bowl should be. Nice, palatable songs. And notably speaking, those songs aren't necessarily aggressive, in your face. They aren't as LA coded as the previous songs he performed in the performance. And what does Uncle Sam do? Uncle Sam applauds this. Uncle Sam applauds this, and he's like, yes, that's what you do. That's exactly what you do. Don't mess this up. Then we get to and then Kendrick, has the section with the female dancers. But there's a line that's super important. 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music. Remember how I referenced Uncle Sam? The first line of Uncle Sam's introduction into Pimp a Butterfly is 40 acres in the... What you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres in the mule, a piano, a guitar. 40 acres in a mule is the promise that America had to freed slaves after, they ended slavery. Hey, you are entitled to the lands that you worked on. You are entitled. This is almost, our gift to you or our reparations to you. You guys deserve this. That's the promise that America made to African Americans, to freed slaves, that you are entitled to 40 acres and a mule. But much like the American dream itself, that promise was never fulfilled. And much like the promises Uncle Sam makes to Kendrick throughout the performance and throughout To Pimp a Butterfly, these are unrealized goals. And most importantly, these are things that are unachievable. If you play the game, you will be entitled to these things. But in playing the game, you are watering down the culture. In playing the game, you are denouncing the things that your culture have built. Because America is... African Americans are entitled to America because they built the country. They built the country. And the country was built off their backs and off their hard labor. But Uncle Sam has the audacity to offer, prosperity to these people, has the audacity to offer, hey, you guys will get this, and not fulfill their end of the bargain when they're deserving of that, and so much more. Not like us, please. And obviously that is the big Drake diss, and we will discuss what this means in terms of the landscape of hip hop and beef, but let's follow the story. He performs Not Like Us. It's defiant. Not Like Us is obviously, the standout diss track of the Drake and Kendrick beef. It is the song that got Kendrick the Super Bowl stage. It is a song that literally won 5 Grammys the week before. He performs the song. Again, we'll get to the Drake portion in a sec. But then Serena Williams comes out. And yes, Serena Williams used to date Drake, right? But Serena Williams performing in Not Like Us is so much bigger than the Drake jab. In 2012, Serena Williams competed against Maria Sharapova in the 2012 Olympics. And she did a celebrational dance. She sea-walked. She, I believe, either got her medal removed or she got fined. But she faced punishment for that dance. That dance was frowned upon. Again, an expression of her culture, because Serena Williams is from Compton, California. An expression of Serena's culture was frowned upon and shunned to the point that her accolades were diminished. She was no longer allowed to reap the benefits of her hard work because she celebrated in a way that was not becoming of Western standards. Because the 2012 Olympics was in London, so it wasn't quite America. But it's still the, quite frankly, white colonial structure working its magic. So for Serena to come back, to perform on the biggest national stage, and do that celebrational walk again, to embrace her culture on a stage such as the Super Bowl, is an act of defiance. It's an act of defiance. Serena Williams crip walking isn't just a jab to Drake. It is a jab to Drake. Let's make no mistake about it. It's a jab, massive jab. But it's also a jab to the forces that restricted her doing the dance in the first place. Because now she's doing it on a bigger, grander stage with all the eyes and attention on her. So Not Like Us is performed. Phenomenal. What song is performed next? TV Off. TV Off. Now, here's the thing. TV Off, absolute banger. We knew this song had to be played at the Super Bowl. Knew it for a fact. TV Off. TV Off for me is the final act of defiance. Again, it is unapologetically West Coast. The whole album of GNX it's unapologetically West Coast. But the TV Off is like turning off the game. I'm done playing the game. Kendrick is done playing the game. He is done conforming to what Uncle Sam has in store for him. He's done conforming to, the status quo of what the politically correct way an African-American man should conduct himself. He's done playing the game. And we know he's done playing the game because as soon the last words of TV Off was turn this TV off, turn this TV off, he signals to turn the TV off and the sign says game over. The game's done. We're not playing by Uncle Sam's rules anymore. We're not playing this game anymore. So what is the story? What is the story of this entire performance? In my opinion, I'm looking at my notes because I had to write this. The performance at the Super Bowl captures the Black American experience. People came into the game, came into free America, wanting to better themselves, wanting to express their culture to the world, wanting to reap the benefits of the land they built, but quickly realized that they have to, in order to reap the promises of Uncle Sam, they have to conform. In order to see the fruits that America has laid for them, they have to ignore the culture. They have to ignore what they built in order to reap what America has sown for them, allegedly. Uncle Sam applauds songs like Euphoria. Uncle Sam applauds submission. He applauds rejecting your culture and submitting to what he has in store for them. But then songs like Not Like Us, songs like TV Off are acts of defiance. They are the American people rejecting the notion of, hey, we have to conform, we have to subdue our culture. This is an unapologetic declaration of who we are, and we cannot play the game. Playing the game doesn't reward us. It rewards individuals, but it doesn't help move the culture forward. And that's Kendrick's biggest statement. The culture will always move forward because of the culture. And placating to respectability politics, placating to Uncle Sam, placating to America as a whole is detrimental to the culture and is detrimental to African American people, because America was built off the backs of African Americans. That is a story. That is a story that Kendrick Lamar told from start to finish in the Super Bowl. And that's why the set list was the way it is. Now let's get to the beef. What does this mean in the grand scope of the beef? I have never seen a run this dominant from a rapper. From the moment forget Euphoria. From the moment Like That dropped, which was probably in May? Probably March. I'm going to say March. From the moment Like That dropped to February of 2025, Kendrick Lamar has been on an unprecedented run. I've never seen a rapper this hot. To have a diss track be performed on the Super Bowl stage is unprecedented territory. I don't care if you don't like the performance. That alone is insanity. He has completely changed the trajectory of what a diss track could be. This is the most successful diss track of all time, bar none. There are no questions about it. Not Like Us is the most successful diss track of all time. And whether you want to attribute it to a UMG stimulus package, whatever you want to attribute to the success of Not Like Us, that song is undeniably goated. Goated. It might not be your favorite diss track. I even prefer, it's not even my favorite Drake diss track. I prefer Story of Adidon, just because it showed that Drake could bleed. Story of Adidon was the first time we saw, damn, Drake got messed up. But Not Like Us attacked Drake in the place he hurts the most. In the place it hurts the most, his popularity. He had an entire stadium singing A minor. Drake has always been the numbers guy. Even in regards to the Pusha T beef, as much as the Pusha T beef was an attack on Drake's the person, the one thing he fell back on was his popularity. Drake had his most successful run, arguably numbers and commercial wise, post Pusha T beef, with the success of albums like Scorpion. But Kendrick attacked what Drake loves the most, his popularity, his fandom, the mass appeal. He took that and ran with it. This is just crazy territory. Again, we'll get Serena Williams. Remember, Drake dissed Serena Williams and her man. This isn't just an ex being petty. This isn't the narrative that I'm seeing running online that, hey, Serena Williams is playing X Games. No, she dissed her current partner. So this was a clapback. And what a clapback. What a clapback. This is Shakespearean level revenge plot. Masterful. Absolutely masterful. But I want to talk to you, I want to ask a few questions. Very much I established that Not Like Us, the Super Bowl performance was very much a critique of America. It was very much a critique of patriotic values. It was very much a critique of the American dream. It was a critique of the virtues that America likes to parade but never realizes. But can a critique like that work on the Super Bowl stage? A hyper-capitalist stage like the Super Bowl. The same run by the NFL. The same NFL who silenced Colin Kaepernick's protests when Colin Kaepernick was protesting about the same Black Lives Kendrick's talking about. Does a protest in his Super Bowl performance ring hollow when the NFL is ignoring people like Colin Kaepernick, who they employed at one point, where they literally silenced his voice? Is performing on that stage conforming to the NFL's needs? There was a saying there that if an institution is big enough to allow critique of itself on its own platform, then capitalism has gone too far. And that's exactly what the NFL have allowed into some people. They've allowed Kendrick Lamar to critique capitalism, to critique American values on their stage that upholds American values. That's one. But like I said before, the Super Bowl platform is very much a platform that people are there for a spectacle. People are there for a show. And even as a Kendrick Lamar fan, I expected the Super Bowl to kind of be a celebration of his catalog. To be similar to the Usher show, a reminder to people who Kendrick Lamar is in terms of a hit maker, in terms of a songwriter. We wanted songs from Good Kid, Mad City. Heck, I've referenced Uncle Sam this whole video, but there wasn't a single song performed from To Pimp a Butterfly. There are songs like Swimming Pools, Money Trees, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. There are certified bangers that Kendrick didn't play. And for a lot of people, that's disappointing. And to a degree, I hear those critiques. Because as a Kendrick Lamar fan, I wanted this to be a celebration, the ultimate victory lap. But I guess we already got that. I guess the Super Bowl show that people wanted already happened. It's called the Pop-Out Show. The Pop-Out Show was just as much a celebration of Kendrick Lamar's career as it was a diss to Drake. He brought out the entire, like, prominent West Coast rappers from his childhood, from prominent West Coast rappers who were his contemporaries, prominent West Coast rappers from his childhood, prominent West Coast rappers that he literally grew up in the studio with in Black Hippie. That's what the Pop-Out Show was. The Pop-Out Show was the celebration of Kendrick's career that people expected the Super Bowl to be. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. There is a lot to unpack. Personally, for me, how do I rank the show? Right? How do I rank the show? There's one more thing. I forgot. This Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl show is the most viewed Super Bowl show since the Michael Jackson era. Since Michael Jackson himself, this Super Bowl is the most viewed Super Bowl halftime performance since Michael Jackson. And after Kendrick Lamar told those people, turn the TV off, they turned the TV off. 1.3 million people turned their TV off. Other critiques I have about the show, like I said before, the sound mixing wasn't great. It wasn't it. Vocals were too quiet. I felt like the set design, while poetic, it wasn't as grand as maybe the people expect from the Super Bowl stage. But maybe that's the entire point. Because there's a track in this whole Kendrick Lamar Drake saga, this whole Kendrick Lamar run that we've ignored. Sometimes you gotta watch the party die. Sometimes it's not about the spectacle. And sometimes it's about the message. Now, there are various points you can critique the message. There was an obvious attempt to reclaim the American flag, which I won't touch because I'm not American. But there's been pushback in the reclamation of the American flag, because how can a flag with so much blood stained on it be reclaimed? But then Kendrick's point is that flag was built off the foundations of our people. So the flag is ours. The country is ours. But I'm going to leave that to, more intellectual people than me. People who are more qualified to speak on it, because I think as a Brit, I'd be overstepping my boundaries. But I digress. What do I think about the performance overall? I'd sit here and I'd be lying to you and said, oh my God, this is the best Kendrick Lamar performance I've ever seen. It's not. I wanted something akin to the spectacle of the Mr. Morale tour. If you have not seen that Mr. Morale tour, that is one of the greatest pieces of showmanship I have seen in hip hop. Period. That Mr. Morale tour is performance personified. From the Baby Keem stuff to him playing the piano to the set design, chef's kiss. So when I'm going into Super Bowl, I wanted that level of production and performance, and we didn't get it. Fair. But Kendrick Lamar said something very important in his Apple podcast interview with Ebro and Nadeska. He said two things. He said he wants to focus on the now, which is why the set list was predominantly GNX. But more importantly, he wanted to tell a story. And there was a story told. The story told on that Super Bowl stage was very much encapsulating the Black American experience. Again, I'll repeat myself. The story told on that Super Bowl stage was capturing the Black experience in America. America offered Black people potential prosperity after slavery. Offered them 40 acres and a literal mule. But every time the promise was made, there were caveats. And a lot of the time, the caveats were at the detriment to the wider community, were at the detriment of the culture. And in order to assimilate into American society, the culture, your people, your heritage had to be denounced and discarded. And this performance encapsulates that message. It was a journey of Kendrick Lamar being a wide-eyed optimist entering the game, seeing that he had to play the game, and at the end of the day, turning the TV off and refusing to play the game no longer. Those are my thoughts on the Kendrick on the performance, on the Super Bowl performance. I don't think it's, if I was to rank it, I'd probably give it a B or A tier, right? A tier because, hey, I'm biased. We have our biases. Of course we do. But if I'm being middle of the road, I'll give it a B tier. I don't think it's quite like Mike level or Beyonce level or, yeah. But I'm comparing this to the black artists. I was not there watching some of these other acts. Man was not there. I'm not going to disrespect Coldplay because they're cold. I'm not going to disrespect Coldplay. But I wasn't there for whoever artist was there in the 2000s. I wasn't old enough and I'm not revisiting it. We keeping it black. We keeping it the culture. But yeah, I feel like the backlash to the performance makes sense because the performance wasn't the status quo of what we expected the Super Bowl. It wasn't. We expect a spectacle. We expect the hits of the hits. That is what the Super Bowl was designed for. And I think Kendrick has always been a subversive artist. But particularly, he used his platform to tell a story. Kendrick is not a revolutionary. He's not. And as much as he said the revolution will be televised, Kendrick Lamar is not a revolutionary. However, what he is, in my opinion, is one of the greatest storytellers in hip-hop. And he used the Super Bowl platform to tell the story, to tell his story and a story of many different people. But yeah, man. I don't know how long this video was, but we here, we live, we direct. This has been the Rare Podcast. We are signing out. Deuces. Catch you in the next one.